Hi guys, this is going to be the tutorial that's going to show you how to make this Glover stitch blanket. In my previous tutorial that I released, I showed you how to do the Glover stitch using worsted weight yarn, which I think is the best way to learn this stitch. And I still recommend that you go ahead and you do the stitch for a little while in worsted weight yarn until you've gotten it down, and then move to the bigger yarn because it can be harder to see the stitch using this super bulky yarn. The yarn I used, oops, I lost my, sorry for my squeaky chair. This is the kind of yarn that I used. I get this in Israel. I'm not sure if you'd be able to find the same, but I know they have this super bulky yarn in the States or Australia or Britain or wherever you are. I'm sure they have it. In the US, sorry, excuse me. In the US, it's called super bulky yarn. And let me get to that part of my pattern because I don't have this memorized. For the US, it's called super bulky 6-ply yarn. And for Australia, it's called chunky yarn, and it's 20-ply. And the size of each skein that I used is 100 grams, 90 meters, and 98.4 yards per skein. And I used one skein per stripe. And each stripe is 7 rows. And the total of the blanket is 6 stripes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yes. Total of 6 stripes. So you're going to need 1 skein per stripe. So you're going to need at least 6 skeins. This color here, I used, oh wait, it was this color I used first for the first row, and did 1 row using this color as a border. And then I switched to my other color and did 7 rows, and then I started alternating 7 rows and then switching back and forth, and then I ended using this color and then did my border with this color. You don't have to do it the same way. I'm just telling you in case you wanted to design yours the same way. And where's my hook? Oh, here it is. This hook here is 10 millimeter hook, which for the US is a size P. And the finished size of my blanket was, let me show you like this. Put my hook down here. This blanket is actually laying the long way. Sorry for the mess. It's actually laying the long way there. Whoops. I lost my microphone. Okay, so the baby would be laying like this, and then you would cover it doing this way. So the stripes actually go like vertical, up and down. But you're going to work on the blanket horizontally. So you're actually working on the whole length of the blanket when you begin. So you can decide how long you want to make it at the beginning. To be honest, I think I made mine just a little bit long. It measured at the end 109 centimeters or 43 inches long, which I think if I went ahead and just did less chains at the beginning, it could have been a little better. And I'll go ahead and I'll tell you the recommendations for the chains, and I'll tell you what I did as well. Anyway, so as you do your rows, you're actually making the width, the part that's actually going to be the width part of the blanket to cover the baby. So let me get this out of the way. So you want to go ahead and grab your super bulky yarn, your 10 millimeter hook, and we'll get started. This stitch is done in multiples of 2 plus 1. So you want to go ahead and make your length of how long you want your blanket in multiples of 2. I used 73 total, which is my multiples of 2, which was to get to 72. Then I added plus 1, which gave me 73. But like I said, I think it's a little bit too long. It's up to you. It will definitely fit the whole of the blanket in the crib. My plan for baby blankets is always, excuse me, I've been sick the last few days. My plan for a baby blanket when I make it is always to fit the baby the whole time it's in the crib. So until it's 2.5 years old, this blanket size will definitely fit it. Now, if you feel it's way too long, and it may be a little bit too long, go ahead and instead of chaining 72 at the beginning, you may try to chain 64 and see if it's good enough. Remember to chain loosely as well. Don't do a bunch of tight chains. So chain 65 loosely, and if it's a good size, then you can leave it that way. What I did is I began by starting my loop a little further down just so I could hide this tail. Make your slip knot. And then again, like I said, loosely you want to chain. So try your best to not do it tight at all. Okay, I went ahead and did my multiples of 2, which I have 12 stitches. Then you want to do your +1, and then you're ready to start. So to do the stitch, you want to go in the second chain from the hook, insert your hook, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook. Now you want to yarn over, 3 loops on the hook, then go right into your next stitch and pull up a loop, which will give you 4 loops on your hook. Then you want to yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and then chain 1, and that ends your stitch. Now with this big yarn, you definitely want to be super careful that you find the very next stitch and it's not the previous one that you were working in. It can be hard to see because you're actually bundling up this stitch and it pulls it away from the actual stitch that it's in and makes it look like there could be a stitch here. So, and it's really difficult later on as you get going on rows. Make sure always that you're going into the correct stitch. So you want to go right into the very next stitch, pull up a loop, then again yarn over, 3 loops on the hook, then go into the very next stitch, pull up a loop. So as you can see, you're going to be using 2 stitches for this stitch. Then yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and very important part of this is to chain 1 after. Always remember to chain 1. It holds that stitch together. So again, go into the very next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into the very next stitch, pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops and chain 1. Continue this down all of your chain, and then I'll show you what you do at the very end of your row. Okay, I reached the end of my row. I'm going to go in to my stitch as I was before, yarn over, go into the very last stitch of my row, pull through all 4 stitches. Okay, now this is the part that changes. After the very last stitch of your row, you always want to chain 2, not just 1, because that chain 1 is part of the stitch, the actual stitch itself. This second chain is your turning chain. So you're going to turn your work. And if you're making a blanket like I did, where you want to do a border the first in one color like I did with mine, then go ahead and change right now to your next color. And if you want to change colors, I wasn't planning to show this, but I'm just going to get some of what I can. Sorry about that. So if you want to change colors like I did with my other blanket, go ahead and get your hook here. This is your loop. Just bend your new color in half. See, this is the end. And you're just going to be pulling that through the loop. Then you'll tighten that loop down. And then you can pull both of these strings here and tighten that loop. And if you need more of a tighter loop, just keep pulling more on your other color, and then you can pull more on here to tighten your loop. Then just grab up this new color, and then you just start working in your stitches with a new color. Very simple to change colors. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to go ahead and stick with the same color. Okay, so at the end of your row, you just chain 2. Like I said, this second chain here is your turning chain, but the first chain you do is part of the stitch, and you're going to be going into this chain first. So go into that chain. You're going to be going into just the top of it. Pull up a loop. Then yarn over. And you're going to go under both loops of this second stitch to pull up your final loop. Then you'll yarn over and pull through all 4 loops and chain 1. And then remember, your stitches are done. If you've ever done the butterfly stitch, how the butterfly stitch also took 2 stitches to complete. So remember, you're always going to be working with 2 stitches. The first stitch you'll be working in will only be going through this front loop only. So find this first stitch, go under the front loop only, and pull up a loop. Then yarn over, and then the next stitch, it's kind of a big stitch, it's easy to find. You want to go under both loops of the next stitch, and pull up a loop. 4 loops on the hook, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1. Then again, your next one, you want to go through this front loop only, leaving the other hook, leaving the other loop there alone, and then pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops of the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1. And again, if you're finding it difficult to see, I have this stitch also in worsted weight yarn you may want to take a look at. Again, going through this front loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over, then go under both loops of the next stitch, pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, pull through all 4 loops, chain 1. And I'm just going to quickly do the next stitch because I want to get to this last stitch here so I can show you how to end your row. Okay, so again, you're going to do the last stitch the same. Go in the front loop, pull up a loop, go under both, 4 loops on your hook, pull through all 4 loops, and again, the very last stitch of your row, you will always chain 2 instead of just chaining 1. Because again, when you turn, you're going to begin your very first stitch of the row here in this first chain. And the second chain is your turning chain. So you're going to go right into that first chain and pull up a loop. Then yarn over, go under both loops of the next stitch. Pull through all 4 loops, chain 1, and this is how you're going to continue your pattern over and over again. Just repeat that last row that I just showed you over and over again, and you're going to get what looks like this. And it's hard to show you all the angles of it. Even in the other video, it was very hard to show you all the angles of the stitch, but it does kind of look different depending on which direction that you're looking at it. It's very nice. And, well, and that's it. I'll have the link to the other video showing the stitch in worsted weight yarn so that you can find it easily, so that if you're having difficulty following me in this super bulky yarn, you can still learn it the normal way that I teach, which is in worsted weight yarn. So that's it. Thank you so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to click like. And if you're a first-time watcher, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.